Hi everybody, welcome back. I'm Rianne Crosby, as you know, and in this series of videos, we are addressing how students can interpret, analyze, and understand exactly what's being required or what's being asked of them in creative writing prompts for S.E.A here in Trinidad and Tobago. So, in this video, we are going to be addressing the common concern of report writing. What makes it scary? What's the difference between an accident and an incident? And what's the difference between an eyewitness report and a non eyewitness report? As well as we're going to talk about plants. You want to stay tuned if you are writing the S.E.A or if you have a child or a relative who is writing the S.E.A because there's something helpful here for everyone. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me in the classroom. Today, as you know, in this video, we're going to be talking about planning the report writing prompt, as in what do you do? How do you take your pencil? What do you underline or what do you circle when you see the instructions? And as you know, this is for S.E.A students as well as their parents and teachers. So let's talk about three facts about reports or three characteristics for all types of reports. All reports are factual. That means that our opinions are not required. They are objective. That means that they are coming from a place of standardized measurement as opposed to subjectivity, our emotions and our feelings. And all reports are accurate. And what that means is that our reports must present a clear and a true version of what occurred. And so we are getting our inspiration for what occurred in our reports from the instructions. So it's very important that our reports are factual, objective, and accurate. Again, in order to do well in this section, as with every part of creative writing, we want to ensure that the student can read the instructions and glean or pull out from the instructions all of the details that are necessary to create a solid plan. And this should not take them more than 5 minutes because, of course, the creative writing section, whether it is the narrative or the report, is a 50-minute long section in its entirety. So students should take 5 minutes, no more, to do the plan. How do you remember what you need to look for when you look in the instructions for a report? Let's talk about plants. In my previous videos, I talked to you about C-space, CSP, and then ACE. And if you don't know what C-space is for writing narrative stories, go looking for that video. In fact, it's part of this playlist. But plants is the acronym that I want to share with you for report writing. Because first we must understand and then we must make the plan. We have to understand what we are looking for and what are the tidbits, what are the elements of the instructions that we have to use to create our report writing plan. How about we look at the most recent sample, which would have been the 2024 paper for S.E.A Creative Writing, where report writing was assessed. In 2025, the Ministry of Education assessed narrative writing, and it is assumed by some people that every other year they test the other one. But I never make that assumption, and I prepare students for both narrative writing and report writing because the examiner can do as much as they like when they are ready with their exam. After all, students should be thoroughly prepared. Let's take a look to see what option 1 asked students to do in the 2024 creative writing exam. During lunch, you notice an incident between two of your classmates. Write a report to your class teacher about the incident. You may include the following details: the date, time, and place of the incident, who were involved and what happened, and what was the outcome. So here is where our plants are going to come in. It's very important that students learn how to use acronyms when they are studying. Acronyms are a powerful memory aid. Acronyms help us to remember lots of information but compress those volumes of information into very condensed forms so that we can remember the order, especially in which things should be done. And so this is what I recommend to you. Try using plants when you have to analyze or interpret or try to understand the instructions for a report. Plant stands for persons involved, location, audience, nature, Type of witness and significant details. If you explore and go through each of your instructions like this, you won't leave anything out, I promise you, especially because all different types of reports are covered here, as well as different types of witnesses and the who, what, when, where, why, and how of gathering information. They are all covered under this nifty acronym called PLANTS. And so if we drew our table in our 6 columns as we would have for C-SPACE, then we would see that PLANTS is asking us to identify, when we read the instructions, who is involved here. Are students involved? Are adults involved? Is the person writing the report also involved? What is the location? What is the time and place that the events have occurred? Who is the audience? Who is this report intended for? Who is going to be the recipient, or who is going to be reading the report? What is the nature of the accident or the incident here? Is it a sporting event? Is it a field trip? Is it a competition? Was someone injured, and that type of thing? The type is the eyewitness or non-eyewitness report, and we're going to explore 2 options today in this video, and then all of the other significant details that we may be presented within the instructions, or that we may have to come up with when we are creating our plan. Remember, in this video, we are simply using the tool PLANTS to analyze our instructions, and then we're going to make our plan for our 5-paragraph report. So let's apply PLANTS to option 1. Here you'll see that we're looking at the very first letter in PLANTS, persons involved. During lunchtime, you notice an incident between 2 of your classmates. That should help us to recognize that there are at least 3 persons involved here. There may also be, because this is a very general incident, this incident doesn't specifically tell you what happened or who else was involved. You may also want to include whether or not there were persons who were not the 2 classmates and who is not yourself, who may have been injured in the incident when it occurred. Let's look at the second aspect of PLANTS. The second aspect is the location, and if this is something that's happening between your classmates, it's highly likely that this is happening at the school that you all attend. I wouldn't go too far outside of school, because you are going to have to explain why the classmates are interacting in the way that they were in terms of this incident. So keep it simple. Simple does not mean boring, and most of the times simple means effective. The next element of PLANTS that we're going to explore would be our audience. It's very important that we know who our report is being written for, because depending on who our report is for, that will help us to determine what kinds of information should be provided. In this case, we are being instructed to write a report to our class teacher. So our class teacher is our recipient, our class teacher is our audience, but that is not always the case, as you would know. Here we go now to nature. And when we talk about nature here, yes, I know my acronym is plants, but this doesn't have anything to do with soil and leaves and trees. But the nature of the incident or the accident is where we want to think about. We need to know the difference between an accident and an incident. And interestingly, the Ministry of Education has released information to clarify this, so this should not be something that students are confused by. An incident and an accident are 2 different things. Incidents cover everything that happened. An incident is something happening, such as an event or an occurrence. An incident is a broad term that refers to any event, whether that event is good or bad. An accident, however, is an incident. In other words, an accident is a type of incident that happens by chance. Incidents might be planned, but accidents are unplanned, unexpected, and unintentional. An accident may also cause injury and harm. And when we can appreciate the difference between an incident and an accident, it means then that we can write in if we're answering option one, we can write about an accident here because an accident is a type of incident. Yeah? And so if students are comfortable writing about accidents where persons may have been injured, that would be acceptable because an accident is broader than an incident is broader than an accident. So you will be, your answer is going to be acceptable if you state or you explain an accident that happened because all accidents are incidents. So here we go to the next aspect of plants, the significant details. Remember, the thing that we need to remember here, rather let's talk about the eyewitness, the type of witness. This is an eyewitness report. Do you know how? Look at the words that are circled there. You notice. Whenever the instructions tell you that you notice, you observe, or you saw, that makes it an eyewitness report. And an eyewitness report is something that you can only describe because you are a witness to what occurred. If you are not an eyewitness, your retelling or your explanation of what happened in the incident or the accident is going to be a little bit different. You are also going to use different language if you are required to write an eyewitness report as opposed to a non-eyewitness report. And finally, here's a look at the significant details. During lunchtime, that tells us what time of day during the school day this was. And there are things that happen during lunchtime that do not happen during recess or do not happen during other portions of the day at school. And students would know that. That will tell us, how many people were around, what was the type of activity that these two classmates may have been engaged in, where were the other students, maybe where was the teacher. All of those may provide a good, the concept of it being at lunchtime helps us to understand the kind of activity that is happening when the incident occurred. Other significant details are the date, time, place of the accident, who were involved, what happened, and what was the outcome. So this is that portion where you see that bulleted list of 3 other details that you might use is a reminder of things that you should include in your 5-paragraph report so that people can follow your report and that your report is very thorough and very, very comprehensive. All right. So the question now is, can we apply plants to option 2 of the S.E.A creative writing question? Option 2 is a different kind of question, and you'll see the ways in which it's different in a bit. And I think you know by now that once I give you a tool, you can use that tool for any type of creative writing question, whether it's the narrative or it's the report. So in this case, we are looking at option 2. 2 students were under a tree when a branch broke and fell, injuring one of them. So here we go. Let's first see, did you pick up that 2 students would be the persons involved? Did you notice that there's no one else mentioned in the details? Now, can you include someone else? Maybe you would include someone else who might have been injured. But at least you know that for your report, you are going to be talking about the 2 students who were under the tree when the branch broke and fell and injured one of them. What about the location for your report? It's likely that if these are 2 students that they were under a tree at lunchtime, that they were under a tree at break time at school, and that the location of this incident would have been at school. What about the audience? In option 1, the audience would have been your class teacher, but in this option, the audience for your report is your school principal. That's the person who's receiving your report. The nature of your report is an incident. This, however, is not something that was planned. It's not something that was intended. and it's most certainly not something that is good. So, how are you going to explain this incident? Uh, how are you going to explain that this may have happened because of strong winds, may have happened because the branch was weakened, may have happened because the tree was aged and dying, quite brittle in the branches? All of these are things that you can think about as you brainstorm quickly before you write your report. And then we have the type of witness. Do you notice that the words notice, observe, or saw are not used anywhere in this report? That means that this is a non eyewitness report, and it's not expected that you are going to use specific words and phrases that would suggest that you saw what happened, even though you are the one writing the report. Remember, for an eyewitness report, you are the one who saw, witnessed, or observed what took place, so that is the reason why you can speak with such authority. However, it's your approach is going to be very different if you are writing a non-eyewitness report. And finally, the significant details. What are the names of the two students? What type of tree was this that the branch broke and fell from? What type of injuries were sustained? What's the name of your school? What's the date and the time and the location in the schoolyard of this incident? What happened and how did the incident end? Did anybody come to these students' aid? All of these are things that you are thinking about as you explore the instructions quickly in 5 minutes to develop and craft your plan before writing. Remember, plans is a pre-writing tool. This is the way that students should approach instructions. You must approach instructions with a plan in mind so that you can make a plan for writing. So I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you found it informative and enjoyable. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now, everybody, and take care.